Nate Latimer said, "Do not cast your pearls before swine." I presume this is in reference to my speaking to atheists and sharing the gospel with hard-hearted atheists. The normal interpretation is don't bother with certain people because they don't understand it. I think this is one of the most misunderstood verses in the Bible. I don't see this as saying don't bother with certain people because they're hard-hearted, and this is why. Swine or pigs don't value pearls because they don't understand it. They don't understand the value of a pearl, so they trample it underfoot. The pearl in our case would be Christ crucified. There's nothing more precious. Paul said, "I preach Christ and Him crucified." The Bible says the preaching of the cross is foolishness to those that are perishing. So what we have to do is not give them the gospel. Don't cast that pearl before swine because they don't value it. Instead, give them the law. Show them they're sinners in desperate need of God's forgiveness. Open up the commandments as Jesus did and show them they're in trouble with God on Judgment Day and heading for a very real hell. A parachute is of no value to someone who's on a plane who doesn't think they have to jump. But once they realize they have to jump, then the parachute becomes of great value. Their life depends on it. If you don't value a parachute, best thing I can do for you is hang you out the plane by your ankles for 5 seconds. You're going to come in and say, "Give me that parachute." So when you've got someone who's proud and hard-hearted, don't say to yourself, this person is just not worth preaching the gospel. They're not worth it because they're hard-hearted. Of course they're worth it. They're human beings. Give them the law. Make them tremble. Make them understand they have to face a holy God on the day of judgment, so they value the pearl of Christ on the cross. Let me make my point another way. If you're alive in the book of Acts, who would be the most hard-hearted, proud, arrogant, anti-Christian person in the land? It would be Saul of Tarsus. He created havoc. He slaughtered the disciples. He had them murdered. And if anyone could have been a swine in those days that you don't give the gospel to, it would be him. And Paul, in giving his testimony in the book of Romans, said how the law was a schoolmaster that brought him to Christ. And he says how? He said, "I had not known sin but by the law. By the law is the knowledge of sin," Romans 3:19 and 20. Romans 7 verse 7. By the commandment, sin became exceedingly sinful. So again, if you've got someone in front of you who is proud, arrogant, and self-righteous, don't give them the gospel. It'll be foolishness to them. Give them the law. Open up the commandments as Jesus did in the Sermon on the Mount with the rich young ruler, as Paul did in Romans chapter 2 and many other places. And then once they understand they're sinners, then they'll value that great pearl of Christ on the cross.